Hi. And Mike Swain is here, and so I'm starting the recording. So Ramona, if you'd like, you can take over and just let me know, like next, when you want the next slide.
Okay, we'll do. So we want to welcome everyone to WEF, the WISE project for change management. For those of you who participated in the UAIM teams last year, we did a lot of work. Yes, Sherry's smiling. We had lots of great conversation. We came up with some great information. So this year, we're going to do this under WISE, and this team is going to work on change management. This is the kickoff meeting. Our actual biweekly meetings will start in September. And Cello, we could go to the next.
Oops.
Slide.
Okay, just a second. Sorry.
Okay. And we have presenting today, we have Scott, and Scott is going to be presenting how change management fits into WISE and give us a lot of good information on change management itself. Change management is going to be one of the hardest projects that we work on because we're going to have to work hand in hand with everyone else. And as we discussed, well, Scott and Cello and I discussed, everyone thinks that change management, steps into their lanes and steps all over them. But what we want to think of it as is we're the shoelace. We tie the shoes up. We don't step on you. We're going to just kind of, tie all those different groups up and pull them together so that they work well together. And we have Cello, who is our guru. He's going to give us lots of great information as to how this is all going to transpire throughout this year and what we're going to be expected to accomplish at the end of the year. And I have the task of leading the initiative for this year. Lots of anxiety. I am not the expert. What I'm going to do is try to pull everybody together and draw out the information and move us forward. These are the folks that we have so far. From our survey responses, you'll notice on the left side, we have a lot of folks who, from the survey, that they want to be actively engaged. Then we have those who just want to be informed. We did send out surveys to the folks on the right, and many of them did not, well, none of these folks completed the survey. So if you can for me, if your name is on the right-hand side of this, or if you are not listed at all, please in the chat, send me a note that says, list me as actively engaged or informed, so that I would know which group to move you to in this process. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what actively engaged means and what informed means, and what core team, if you participate in the core team, what that means. Okay, welcome, and thank you all for showing up.
Thank you very much, Ramona. Scott, did you want to say a few words on this?
Sure. Yeah, I can be relatively brief here. Overall, we are developing and applying for WISE a holistic analysis framework, methodology that's based on system modeling and a systems approach, where we are developing and improving the maturity and capabilities of organizations. And now we want to pull all this together and integrate it through change management, focused on the value and overall performance of the organization. And what you can see in the illustrations here and the graphics on the left side is that change management does interact with all the components of value creation, and we've applied them on the left to the workforce, to the organization, to the business processes, and then at the bottom, we're bringing in technology as part of WISE now. And this continuous improvement cycle should look familiar to all of you who have participated, where we start out assessing the system maturity of a business process or of a workforce or organization, and in the future of technology. We analyze the as-is state, where you are as an organization and where you desire to be. And then, as we will talk about, we'll integrate change management into that, of how you plan improvements, implement improvements, and then monitor performance as part of this continual improvement process. Next slide.
Yes, give me just a second.
And under UAIM, we have focused very much on the individual components and the individual teams in developing work processes, maturity models, assessment methods, and utilities have shared their methods and experiences. Some have developed business process models for it. We've developed some tools, developed some capability for the platform. But since change management is really, I love what you did, Ramona. It's the shoelace that kind of knits all of this together. You're going to see how, and we're going to see together and learn together how we can knit all this together under change management that can apply to the different components, but in a holistic, systematic way that can apply to each of these quadrants. So I think Cello now is going to get into a little bit more in terms of how these can be integrated together.
Thank you, Scott. So what we see on the left is that this we are currently working on the workforce and organizational culture assessment. This will continue. We had a meeting on Monday, and we'll have a follow-up tomorrow for those who couldn't make Monday for this group. We've been working on improving the processes, and we'll bring the technology component in from a different project. And so change management is kind of overarching, and it's especially important in these areas, in these steps, when we're planning improvements and implementing improvements. So overall, the WISE effort will integrate things from two different projects. One on the left is this UAIM we've talked about, and there you can see that from this continuous, what we've done so far on organization and workforce is really this maturity model and assessment method. On the processes, we've done a bit more. We've done analysis, we've done design to be, and on technology, on this other project, we're doing the assessment part. So all these orange boxes are what we want to do on WISE, and where there's a red thing that CM is, this is where change management is going to be the key. Whenever we want to make one of these things happen, it will mean change, and then the change will need to be managed. Eventually, we'd like to have these assessment tools tell us, you can see 4 quadrants, and each one of these has sort of like different aspects to it. So if you look at workforce, there's employee engagement, teamwork and collaboration, reward recognition, and on the culture, responsibility, accountability, strategy, and performance. These are the things that we've all been working on. The members of the core team have worked on this, on the business processes and the lower part technology, so that we can have that we have different instruments to look at something and say, well, how are we doing with these different aspects today? And then see where we are in terms of maturity. And then change management will say, well, where do we want to be? And how do we get there? So the blue dots is blue dots are where would we like to make? Do we want to increase employee engagement? Do we need to improve implementation and delivery and so forth? So the change management, if we, for example, just look at technology, will really be about how do we make that movement and have plans to do that. So it really, touches everything. So the work plan for year one for change management it will be to review, to be aware of the work on other components, so that members of this group of this team can know, okay, these are the things that are happening on the organization culture and workforce, and this is what's happening on technology and process, so that they can be aware of what's happening in that circle. Then review and discuss available change management methods. And we've had like DC Water under showed how they use ProSci, and there were different ideas of different methodologies. Also look at readiness assessment methods to see if an organization is ready for change. One of the things that has really been valuable, we haven't done it quite on the people side yet, is for utilities to change their artifacts related to change management. Like, this is our process, this is what we do, these are the tools that we use. And then everybody will be able, who wants to, will be able to post it, and then you can see, oh, okay, well, this is how Baltimore is doing it. And we'll then develop scope and requirements for this change management methodology, select something that picks, and then it's bold because it'd be really important. We will make a best effort to actually try to apply this to a certain project in different organizations so that we can have some lessons learned. I'm quickly going to pause to see if there are any questions on this slide. Okay. So what we're going to deliver is a review of the available change management methods out there. Look at them, what's available. Look at the change readiness assessment tools and report and describe what's out there. We may do something on our own, or augment or modify something that's out there to suit our needs. And then what would be very valuable is case studies from pilot implementation of the methodology that we select and the shared artifacts, and to prepare a document that are the guidelines for change management that would be developed collaboratively, sort of generic one, and then each utility may want to adjust it a little bit for their own purposes. But the idea would be so that there is a document that says, okay, this is, how we can go about it. So I'll go back to Ramona to talk a little bit about, the scope and the time commitment and, how people can get involved.
Hey, Cello, if I could, I would just comment that, change isn't something that's foreign to all these organizations. And in fact, in the UAIM earlier phases of the project, teams have and utilities have gone through a process, for example, and they've identified as is, they've identified to be. But what they haven't done is really developed guidelines and methodology and a process for the change itself. So that's how this fits in, and that applies to really all of the teams. So as the other teams are engaging in their efforts, and we have some really good teams and really good leaders who are taking them through that, then there does need to be this interface so that those teams that are improving, for example, a CIP delivery process, that they're dealing with, okay, and they've identified an improvement that they want to implement. Well, how do you go about doing that and creating the change in the organization and the culture that's needed so that it's an effective change and it's sustainable and that improvement is even better than it would otherwise be?
And that's an excellent point. And even with technology, we're all aware of projects where, quote, adoption wasn't great. So because people focused a lot on the technology rather than people who will be actually using the technology, and also the process, because even if we change process, we'll have to deal with people. So thank you, Scott, for that point. So anyway, thank you, Scott. Ramona, if you could maybe just kind of talk about the scope and stuff. You're on mute.
There we go. So for the change management team, as I said before, there are a few levels of participation. We have those folks that we're going to keep them informed so that they can take the information back to their respective work groups for whether it's people or organizational culture, and use some of the information for that. Then we have participants who will be in the biweekly status updates. They can participate in the remote workshops, the events, 2021 WEFTech, 2022 Utility Management Conference, Summer 2022 workshops. And then we have the core team. The core team not only meets biweekly, but then we have additional collaborative work on deliverables, added workshops and meetings. And you're actively working in these meetings. We're actually using things, different tools to collaborate. Cello gave us some really great tools. The sticky note tool last year was really great, where we were all able to provide input at the same time, conducting pilot implementations at your utility if you're a part of the core group. What I wanted to talk about are some of those pilot implementations projects. What we want to do is we want to work with some utilities, folks in the core team, to find a project that they may be interested in working on. We're going to provide the guidance and documents so that you can define the scope of work for that particular change project. Work with you to figure out who the stakeholders are and what measurements you're going to take so that we can develop an actual project, change management project within your utility as a case study. This, at the end of the year, will help us to have multiple case studies that show where we started, how we came up with these guidelines, how we structured it, so that you can then actually show the results of implementing the change. And I think if the team can develop a few case studies that we can then present, it will have more influence because it's tried, and we will have
Ramona,
some numbers and some measurements. Yeah.
Ramona, maybe clarify a little bit. What I'm hearing you say is that what you're really looking for are for the utilities who can participate on a core team, who also identify within their own organization what is a work process, let's say, that they want to improve, and that they could apply the learnings from this team in change management to that process and turn that into a case study. Is that just another way of expressing what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. So what we're going to do for Baltimore City, we have a contracting process, and we've identified some flaws in that process. So what we want to do is to actually map that process, define the stakeholders, and use that as a case study to show how we have moved it forward by implementing this change management process. So we have real data and a real project and a real process that we're working through. And I think it'll go ahead.
No, so Ramona, and just to add on, and Mike Barnett is on the phone here, or on the call as well, is that we do have basically a training module that's available, so you can learn and get help in how you document those processes as well. So there's a lot of tools and capabilities on the platform that exist, and help that can be provided to help the individual utilities along in that process. Right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, there's a complete set of training materials that we put together on business process modeling using the standards that were selected for UAIN. And you have access to those, and it's actually a complete 4 or 5 day training course that we've given to a couple of utilities already, and others are interested. And I would encourage you, if you have one of your staff members or yourself want to learn more about how that was done or is done, I encourage you to take a look at the materials and then get in touch with Cello, Scott, or I if you want some more information on it. Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we really want this to be something that when you walk away from it, you have something tangible and repeatable, and that you can go and take that information and apply it to any project or any business process, and improve it, and be able to measure it and continually improve it. So that's what my hope is for what we could get out of this at the end of the year. And then, of course, presenting at conferences and webinars for the core team. Anyone have any questions?
Are there any questions for Ramona or Scott or?
Ramona, you mentioned the opportunities that we have to, beyond the virtual work that we're going to be doing, to gather together. And I think a number of people on the phone remember Portland, and where we got together for a week basically, and made great progress. And so you have listed here on your slide WEF Tech that's coming up in a couple months. We have the Utility Management Conference next year, and then we have in the summer, kind of anticipating I think that WEF is anticipating supporting us getting together in a workshop at a location yet to be named. Everyone loved Portland and the venue that we had there, but we need to decide if we can do something like that as well.
Thank you. So we're going to now go to the a little bit of an interactive session. There's a QR code on your screen, or you can just simply on your phone or your computer go to www.menti.com, and this is the code that you will enter. We have a few questions just to kind of give you a chance to respond, participate, and also that we can collect some data that would be useful for us. So I am presenting this, and let me know if you see it. So
Yes.
Okay, so now this is the first question. How would you describe the current change management practices in your organization? And you can, from strongly disagree to strongly, whether they're well documented, including the guidelines that are available. There are people who have been trained or certified in one of the common methods, and whether they're applied to most of your important projects or or processes and things like that. And I'm not collecting data on who says what. So this is not going to be, you're not making like a fingerprint. There's no, I'm not going to record who's saying what, but just to get a sense of, you know, where people feel that their organization is. And
So,
I think what it, sorry.
Yeah, 6 people have, there we go, 7. So people go ahead and enter your data.
Oh, I think we have 14, 15 people on the call, so we'll give you a little bit more time. And it'll also give us a sense for, you know, opportunities for improvement and so forth. So we have 9 people who have responded. I will just give a minute or two to, sorry.
I just comment that over the last 3 years, people have commented that change management was really, really important and they needed to do some work, but we had to do some other things first. And the fact that these are lowish scores is not surprising at all. And it just speaks to the importance of this particular team.
Okay, we have 10 responses, 11 responses. We'll just give people a minute. And it seems like answers are fairly consistent. 11, so, okay. Let me, I will then, this is a little bit of a manual thing, but so the next one is you can just type in and it'll appear here just what comes to your mind. What challenges have you experienced with change management in the past? You know, what kind of things, what emerged as an issue or a problem? Just that at the end of the day, when we, or as we go forward, we can have a list of these challenges that you and say, are we addressing these challenges? Are we considering, you know, what happened in the past? So if you can just type whatever, these are really good. These are excellent, and I think it will be very helpful. Make sure that we consider these challenges when we look for solutions. So these are really good. This is really good stuff. And you can enter as many comments as you'd like, really. And the more we have, the better it will be. We'll just give people a chance to wow, this is really excellent stuff that's appearing.
Yeah, this is very excellent. And, you know, we'll see, we can check back to see if we're addressing these challenges.
Yeah.
As we develop the change management process.
Yeah, so we don't end up being a solution looking for a problem. Oh, no, more stuff is appearing. Oh, that's really excellent. Well, this is very worthwhile. I'll keep this up for a couple more minutes because these are very valuable things. And we have just one more after this.
When we talk to prospective participants, new utilities who want to join and they're interested in change management, our ability to say, here are the kinds of problems and issues that we intend to address, this is very helpful.
Yeah, now when I see all this, I'm kind of scared to even start this work. This is excellent. This is excellent. Okay, wonderful. Okay, just a minute, and we'll go to the next one. And these things that just pop into your mind are usually just like really end up being very important. Yeah. Okay, anybody wants to still raise your hand if you would not like me to go to the next slide, if you still want to enter something. Okay, I don't see the hands, so let me just.
A couple people are jumping off the call, but we thank you, Jessica and Parajat, for participating, and we'll see you next time.
And this is just to kind of help us, if you could just kind of, these are the deliverables that we anticipate. And if you could just kind of rank them in the order of priority for your organization, even if it looks tough, just so we get a sense of what people would find most important for their, both shorter term and longer term success. So I'll just wait to see. We'll just wait to see, as the results come in. This one is a little bit more involved in, ranking these things. And I don't see the interface on your end, but I hope that it's user-friendly enough that you can do this reasonably easily. Wow. Okay, that's good.
That's a cool graph.
Yeah.
The way that just popped up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting some stuff in.
Wow.
Is it reasonably user-friendly? If somebody can just tell me, is it easy to do it? Okay. Because I just see this end, I don't see the other end. Okay, we'll give just a couple of minutes. Yeah. Don't want to cut off anybody, and we're doing okay on time, so maybe just let this go for another minute or so. Okay, well, let me see if anybody's still working on this. Perhaps, does anybody still want to have a chance to finish this, or should I go ahead? Let me know if you don't want me to change the slide. Okay. Well, thank you very much. This will be recorded. I'll post the results of this with the recording of this. Just a second.
We are very much keen.
So this is the last slide. The last thing on our agenda is, let me just go to our agenda, is the open discussion if people want to bring something up, and we'll probably be able to give you back a little bit of time today, and just your thoughts about participation or this topic, or concerns or questions in general.
I think it would be interesting to just get some feedback from people, and also, Ramona, you may want to introduce your colleagues that are working with you too, because these are people that are new to most of the people on the phone.
Yes. So from Baltimore City, we have Terry Ann McCullough, and Terry Ann is working with the Bureau Head's office on training. And Terry Ann, do you want to tell them about what you're working on? Because it changes. Our roles change often.
Jack of all trades, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm Terry McCalla. I recently joined the Bureau Head in March of this year. I'm working on learning and development, working closely on creating curriculums for all the divisions that the Bureau Head oversees, pertaining to the different trainings they need. So once we have the staff that we already have there, ensure that everybody is trained up to date. Everybody has all their certifications needed to do their specific jobs that they're the specific positions that they're in. And also, for when new employees come in, no one has to be worrying or running around with their heads cut off, wondering what training this individual needs for their certain position. So we're working to have it be a smooth transition, that we always ensure that our employees are up to date on all the trainings they need. And when new ones come in, they're already trained. We also have something called we're working on something also called a knowledge capture. So what that is that what we're trying to do is, while the employees are here, we're getting they're providing us with all the information they have. So if they leave, a loophole won't be left there without any information, and us not knowing how their job was done or how they did their job. So if they retire, if they resign, and God forbid if they pass away, we will be able to carry on smoothly without any hiccups if that happens. And also, I'll leave we have a succession plan that Shelley will talk about in a minute, that we're working on for a succession plan for our employees for when they come in, because no employee wants to come in and sit in the same position forever. I don't, because I started with the city as a temp, and I moved my way up to team lead, supervisor, acting manager. So everybody that comes into an organization needs to want to move up in whatever they're doing. So with that succession plan, we are providing that so employees can see how further they can move up within their organization, instead of just staying in one set place.
And our next participant is Shelley Payne. Shelley Ann Payne. You're on mute, Shelley.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Hello. Hello, I'm Shelley Payne Broadnax. We can leave the Broadnax off. I'm getting ready to change that soon. Thank you for inviting me. I've just joined the Bureau Administration last Monday, so I'm the newbie on the block. And everything Terry just said, I don't have to say anything else. I'm working on the learning and development team along with Miss Terry. She's been wonderful. And so basically she covered everything. We just want to make sure all employees are equipped so that they can do well and they win and they succeed in their career development while they're in the Bureau of Water and Wastewater. And that's it.
Yeah, and I will say one of the challenges for Baltimore City is that we have an aging workforce.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the pandemic has been
Rough.
It has devastated some of our boots on the ground, because we have a large population that either opted to, because of the pandemic and it being dangerous, deciding to retire out.
Right.
Or we've had a number of employees that we lost to the pandemic. And many of the employees did not document their job. They were not required to document how they did their job and what was done on a daily basis.
Right.
So we were at a loss in many situations on multiple levels. So this team will actually help us to capture that information, document it, and see how we can improve it. Because we also have a lot of employees who hold on to the information as job security. So we've encountered a lot of challenges. So I think this will be a great team to help us start doing some documentation and improvement and how to apply it across the institution.
I see that Rebecca Martinez from Tahoe Water has a question. She also said that her microphone is not working. I was going to ask her to introduce herself, but it's okay. I actually am certified in ProSci in ADCAR, so I don't know where my ADCAR glasses are. So we can. My intention is for it to look at those and similar methods and to assess and review. And it doesn't mean that everybody needs to take the same method. It doesn't mean, I think that ADCAR is useful. There are other, approaches as well. So one of the first things that I was hoping that we would do is look at what is out there. I think that there are useful things in ADCAR, and I think they'll be more useful when they're combined with some other things that are happening on this project, because ADCAR is a bit more generic than what we're going to be dealing with. So my thought is it's not a waste of time, to take that. It does have interesting things in it. And I think that we should, it'll be very beneficial having you having experience with that, to also look at other things, because you could then rank them and rate them and compare them. And you could also contribute to, if we want to customize or modify something. The discomfort that I have about sort of proprietary tools is that you know what I mean, is to say, okay, everybody should take this class or something like that. It's a little bit, so I would prefer if we do this as a group and we kind of find something that works best for everybody. So
Ramona, it might be useful to, they haven't spoken up yet, but people like Alice and Kesra, Mike Sweeney, and a couple others who've been involved in the project so far, is what you're hearing here is it looking to meet your expectations? If you want to take yourself off mute and speak up.
Yes, that would actually be great. And I think it would be great if like Kesra could talk about her experience or our experience last year. As we went through this process. I do see Sherry here. So that would be great if we can get some input about your experiences last year and what you're looking to get out of this year.
So this is Kasra. So I feel this is a really great extension to what we did last year, because if you recall, we sort of didn't really do a lot of change management stuff, although everything we did was related to change management. We focused on the workforce. We focused on organizational culture, which are key drivers, right, for change and change management. And so I think what we're talking about today really takes all that work and all that input that we did, focusing on those two and really saying, okay, now what do we do with all this information that we have? What do we do with this assessment tool that we've developed? And how do we really get organizations to change, right? So I think this is what we're talking about here today, to me, is a great extension to what the work that's already been done. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, applying what we've learned to what we can do here and take it back to my organization. So it's exciting.
Sherry?
Yes, and I definitely would agree with that. You know, I came onto the committee at the tail end, the mid to end of it all, but I did enjoy the work that we did. It was a great collaborative effort. And from what I'm hearing moving forward, it sounds like, you know, since each utility are involved in different aspects regarding change, that we're just going to put together some sort of toolbox where if, you know, a utility has a situation and they're finding that they want to implement it, and they can go to that toolbox and see what the best practices were that other utilities have done and have the standards there and the steps of how to implement it. And I think this will be an amazing resource, because that's the biggest thing in the beginning of any change is the due diligence and trying to really figure out how it's done. So if we can have how it's done in one place, I think that'll be very valuable. This is going to be great work over this year, I believe, for this committee, and I'm happy to be on it.
Thank you, Sherry. Alice?
Yeah, I agree with what Sherry and Kesa just said. I think a lot of our problem with change management in the past is that it's taken as this gimmick. It's this, you know, what you were saying, Cello, this sort of package thing that is, you know, an extra add-on to people's work. And so I think what will be really valuable here is seeing other utilities like us using it, because I think that speaks to our members a lot more than some thing that somebody put together to make money, so to speak. And really seeing those examples, I think, will be very valuable.
Thank you very much. Mike Sweeney?
Hey, everybody. You know, I've always been, to be quite honest, concerned about change management as a people track. But I've come to learn toward the end of the WRF era, now that we're into WISE, that there is more and more a differentiation that is so key. And I think we've captured it, Cello and Scott and everybody, in graphical form. It's kind of up to us to make it real. And I think the last question was very important. The 6 takeaways or deliverables in ranked order, I think, speaks to it as well. Ironically, Rebecca, your question was essentially the same as mine. When it came to certification, that kind of thing, is it inside the scope or outside the scope? And I'm kind of getting the answer that it's already out there, but we're making this change management real from a utility management perspective. I think it's a really important differentiator, because I think our pressures, whether we're inside of a city or a county or outside on our own as an authority, there's some unique aspects of it. There's a lot of similarities, but there's some uniqueness to it. And I think we'll all benefit from discovering it and sharing it with widely with the sector.
Thank you, Mike. Jackie?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I don't have a whole lot to add, except for that, you know, from the beginning, I felt like this was, well, this to me is very, very important, because I think everyone really does struggle with this. And, you know, over the years, I think we've looked at different ways that we could, you know, really help everyone embrace change more. And I really feel like it's actually become more critical now, because our workforce is changing. And so I feel like we have this opportunity. Plus, I do feel like with the whole situation we've had over this last year and right now, we've learned how to do things differently, and we've had to change more quickly than we ever thought we could. So I feel like we can use that as an example almost to say we can do this and help our utilities understand what kind of changes we actually can make more nimbly than we've been able to before. So I think working on this together is going to be extremely beneficial.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Jackie. Ramona, back to you. Anything else you'd like to add? And before we give people maybe a few minutes of their time back?
No, thank you everyone for participating. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to doing this. As I told Cello, I said, I have a lot of anxiety about this. Uh, but in his kind way, he says, as long as you keep expanding, you'll be fine. So that's the goal, is to keep expanding my sphere of knowledge, and hopefully, we can all learn from each other and move forward. And as you said, we have accepted change in this last year like nobody's business, because we had no choice. In working for the city for 15 years, there's a particular process that there was so much resistance in the last 15 to 24 years to make it an electronic process. And in the last year, we have, because we had no choice. So it's interesting that at some point we recognize we have no choice but to change. And this is going to give us the tools to make it a little bit easier and a little less anxious for some of those folks that are resistant. So I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And I'm going to stop the recording now. And this will be posted.